let's transition to having a large family. So 10 kids, that is amazing.
Yeah, no one is more surprised than I am.
That's hilarious. You know, Kendra, something people ask me all the time. It's actually kind of weird how much people ask you how many kids you want, right? Because I'm one of 7 and my wife's one of 6. And so I always say, well, I think 10 kids would be, a good max, but obviously I'm open to whatever God has. And they're like, 10? That's crazy.
I like to say we're just going to keep going till we get an ugly one. And people don't know what to say about that. But, I should probably stop saying that in front of my 1-year-old in case God doesn't give us any more.
Yes, that'll be easy. I'll do it, Oh, that is funny. I've never heard that one. I'll have to use that sometime. But yeah, so how are you and your husband so open to life?
We weren't to begin with, and having a big family is never something that I would have considered. And it's been such a beautiful gift for our family, and the relationships between the kids as siblings and, just our family life is such a beautiful thing. And we just enjoy it so much. And I had never heard the Catholic Church teaching on birth control and the teachings on sex and marriage, even though, I was raised Catholic and never heard that before. So we were in our engaged encounter and they sort of gave a cursory mention to natural family planning, and we're like, but don't worry, if you're not interested in it. And we were like, wait a minute, what is this? Is this something that we need to know about? And so we looked into it some more and listened to a cassette tape. That's how long ago I was engaged. We listened to a cassette tape in my husband's car in the parking garage called Contraception Why Not by Janet Smith. And as crazy as it sounded, it just seemed like we probably didn't know better than the church and the saints and on this. And we decided, all right, we're going to give it a try. We're going to learn how to do natural family planning, and then we'll just have the number of kids that we wanted to have, which he's from a family of 3. I have just one sister. And so we were going to have a big family. We're going to have like 4 kids. That was the most imaginable. But of course we were going to have them when we wanted and, at convenient times and the number that we wanted. And then we tried natural family planning. We went to the classes and we, immediately messed it up because we were newlyweds, and I could show you on my chart where we messed up. And then I got pregnant again 19 months after the first one. And so we had sort of a rocky start with natural family planning. And it really wasn't until about my 5th that we finally figured out how to successfully avoid pregnancy using natural family planning. But I didn't really like doing it. And by that point, we just kind of realized that we prefer to have babies, and that we're in a position where we're able to do it. And it's interesting to be on this end of it now, where, my oldest son is 18, my youngest is 1. Who knows? I just turned 43. So who knows?
Yes.
What they don't talk about in being open to life is that you really don't know when it ends. You don't know when to put away those baby clothes. You don't know when to give away the swing, because you don't know when that will have sailed. So to be at that point, feeling like I certainly have enough kids, but we would be open to more. But yeah, we have been just so blessed with a big family, and it's not something that's possible for everyone for a number of reasons, but it's been great for us.
So how did you stay joyful while having 10 kids? Because so many people are like, 10 kids, I don't know how I'd survive all this stuff, but you're able to write a book on being Catholic all year. In the beginning, you say you were pregnant like 3 times while writing this book, and it's just amazing to think that you're able to persevere, and anyone that follows you on Instagram would be like, Kendra is such a great mom. How are you able to do that?
Well, I would say two things. One is that I really wasn't able to sort of pursue my outside interests when I had only little kids. It wasn't until my oldest was maybe 10 that things started slowing down a little bit, and I was able to find more time to do things like write a book or spend time on my blog and other interests. Having a big family really has allowed me to pursue some of those interests in a way that still allows me to homeschool my kids and have them home with me all the time. But there are other people who can put somebody down for a nap or help make dinner. So it's more of a team effort rather than, boy, being in the trenches of all little kids, and especially two at once, everything falls on you. And if you're in the car and you're trying to decide, do I put frozen groceries away or do I scoop up screaming babies? That's all on you, and there's no one else to help. But I can pull in to my driveway now and, call, and many people will come out and help me put groceries away and take babies. And so it's just really, I always feel badly for people who only had little kids at once, because you really don't get that experience of being able to really appreciate the beautiful parts of having a baby, because there's so many outside responsibilities that you have all the time. When there are more helpful people living in your house, you're really able to enjoy those baby times more.
Yes. So to that point, what would you say to those mothers that are out there, maybe even watching this, that are like, I'm in that time where I have 3 or 4 kids under the age of 3. What do I do? How do I push through this? How did you do that?
So we were visiting a family friend of my husband who had 12 kids, and we had 3. My oldest was 4, and we had a 2-year-old and a baby. But I was having, we were traveling, we were all the way across the country, and my 2-year-old was being a maniac, and the dad of this big family and all these amazing teenagers who were so polite and helpful, and I didn't even know what was going on. And he said, oh, things are really gonna settle down and get less crazy for you when your oldest is 10. Like, okay, thanks, but he's 2. Like, how is that helpful to me? So I would just give everybody that completely terrifying advice that just wait till your oldest is 10 and then things will be fine.
Oh, that's so funny.
You can make it. You will survive. But yeah, just to cut yourself some slack and understand that now is the most difficult time. And so if you have family in town, if you can set up a babysitting co-op with friends, whatever, if you can hire somebody to help you with laundry or the vacuuming, or whatever you can do to make your life more manageable when you have all little kids, it really does, in my experience, get easier the more kids you have and the older they get.
Yeah, my mom always said, she's like, after you have 3 kids, it just gets easier. So it's great to hear that, the more the merrier almost,
That's definitely was true for us also. It was my 4th baby that I was like, okay, I kind of know what's going on now. And it really felt a lot different than sort of that panic of what do I do with this little person?
Exactly. So did your faith grow as your family grew?
It definitely did. I always tell people everything I know about the Catholic Church, I learned in response to a kid asking me a question about it and having to say, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Wow.
And so just, wanting to share the faith with our kids has really been what has helped me grow. And you mentioned specifically joy before, and I think that that's such an important thing. I get a lot of emails from parents who are worried about, current culture. Of course, now we're in this very crazy time where people are just really worried about a lot of things. And I can't remember which crisis it was because it was a few years ago, but it was, you know, sort of feeling like a time where there was a lot of darkness in the news and a lot of sort of heaviness in current events. And we were sitting in our living room saying a family rosary, and my kids, who are supposed to sit in one spot, we have all these rules for our family rosary. They're supposed to sit in one spot. You're not supposed to hit your siblings with your rosary, use it as a weapon. But they just sort of randomly started rolling on the floor while saying the rosary, like rolling over each other, and they weren't really fighting. So we were sort of letting it continue because it was funny. But I just remember sitting there and everybody was just cracking up while we were saying the rosary. And there was just so much joy there. And I know that I wouldn't have felt that without these little kids in my family. And so it really helped me to see in a really profound way that it wasn't like, how can you bring a child into this scary world? It was that bringing children into the world brings joy with it. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, that moment really showed me like this is our joy, like these kids. And I mean, we just see that again and again.
You know, that is so true. So our sons are like 16 months old, and there has been nothing that has grown my faith more than them, you know, seeing like the love that they have and the dependence they have on me, and how I'm more dependent on God than they are on me. And they're really dependent on me, you know, without me and Emery, of course, they're not getting any food, you know, anything. To think that grace is so much more powerful is really so incredible. And we had a very similar experience. One time we say the rosary at night before they go to bed, and they were just crawling around and they started they jumped on their butt and they started giggling. And we all just started breaking out laughing, and we're like, here we are saying the rosary, you know, but just to have that, just to see that there's, I wonder why it always happens during the rosary, right? You know?
It's a grace.
Exactly. It is, right? So for those Protestants out there watching that are like, the rosary, here are some good examples. It just brings to light the whole concept of Jesus saying, unless you become as little children, you'll not enter the kingdom of heaven, and have childlike faith and all of this. It's really incredible to see. And I think what it does is it softens our hearts, because there's so much in the world that can harden our hearts. And there's so much even in families that can harden hearts, relationships and things like that. But having children really makes a difference, especially young children. They really bring so much joy and so much, they lighten up the mood. It's really pretty incredible. So Kendra, I know you've had some pretty challenging times with your family. I don't know if you want to go into detail of any of that, but what was it that, you know, maybe even through the structure of the liturgical year, that allowed you to push forward and have that trust in God?
Yeah, we're coming up on the anniversary of my then 2-year-old son getting admitted to the hospital for bacterial meningitis, and we spent 5 weeks in the hospital with him. And you know, I just said Advent is my favorite liturgical season, so it was like mid-November, or no, it was early November when he went into the hospital, but we were still there, you know, when Advent began. And you know, it's one of those things. We have all of our traditions. We have the way that I like to do things. I have the way that I like to decorate our house, you know, a little bit each time and on different feast days. And we couldn't do that because we were in the hospital. We got discharged on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is December 12th. So, you know, we were at the hospital for Thanksgiving, and then the whole, you know, the beginning of Advent and all these traditions. So it was a hard thing for me to let go of those things that I like to do it my way. But sort of a combination of realizing that, you know, this awareness of the liturgical year isn't dependent on special foods and and special decorations, that it was something that I was still able to observe prayerfully in our hospital room. And still do a little bit of decorating. But also having big kids at home meant that those traditions carried on even when I couldn't be there. And that's another beautiful thing about having a family, is you realize that, you know, your traditions carry on to the next generation. And these are things that were important to my kids to observe, even though I couldn't be there to keep things going all the time. And then, you know, my husband also, my husband has cancer, and has for almost 12 years now. And you know, it's been something that that has made us look at the world differently. And I think especially on deciding whether, you know, you want to be open to bringing more children into the world when, you know, with a serious diagnosis like that, and an uncertain future. But, you know, all of our futures are uncertain, and you know, none of us is guaranteed tomorrow. So it's been sort of a memento mori for both of us, that we should be aware of our death. We should all be living, you know, like we could die tomorrow. And you know, he has a very serious diagnosis and is doing really great. So you know, so that's the good news, that you know, that he's still around and still being a great father to our kids. But you know, it helps you focus on what's important, and that it shouldn't take a diagnosis, because we should all be living like that, no matter what.
Yes, that is, wow. Well, Kendra, in closing, I want to ask you a question. What would you say to husbands of wives of large families, or husbands of wives that are looking to have large families? What guidance would you give them? Because I'm one of them.
Yeah, no, I would just say that, you know, that to understand what we were talking about at the beginning is that those first three kids, those first, you know, and those first 10 years are the hardest on a mom. So anything that you can do to make yourself more available, to give her a little bit of, you know, for me, I really appreciated a little bit of alone time. And my, you know, my husband on the weekend would take the kids over to the park, and I didn't have to come with him, and I could just be alone for a little bit. And that was really instrumental in my sanity, you know. And if you can afford to offer, you know, help, for babysitting or housekeeping or anything, or, you know, you help with the chores a little bit, just to understand that this is the most challenging time, and that things really will get easier for her, at least in my experience. And, you know, my husband works much longer hours now than he did. And that was, you know, we had sort of a family meeting about it, and he said, all right, a lot more responsibility is going to fall on the older kids, is going to fall on mom, because, you know, I have this opportunity at work, and it's going to take a lot more hours than I used to spend. And because we had teenagers at home, that's something that didn't negatively affect our family life.
Mm-hmm. Kendra, it's amazing to see your witness of 10 kids during the lockdown. Her whole family was out singing songs every day. It's just great to see that there are large families out there that are living a vibrant faith life, you know, that aren't like, oh, you know, we're in a big family, because that's what you always hear. Oh, I was from a big family and I never want a big family, you know. Well, not always, but you hear that a lot of times. And to see families that are on fire for Christ and are living their Catholic faith with joy is priceless. So if you want to learn more, check out Kendra on Instagram, YouTube. I'll put the links in the description below. And of course, check out Catholic All Year and her calendar. So anything else you want to say, Kendra?
That's all. It was great to meet you.
Yes. Great meeting you as well. It's amazing how God connects us all. And we hope this brings some glory. So hope you all have a blessed day, and God love you.